No!
You said you kill him.
No!
You a killer.
No!
So, take it. Allan. Listen. You must feel guilty, don't you? Look me.
You know you've killed him.
No!
You know that, right?
No!
Come on, be honest.
No!
You've killed him. You know that, right?
No!
I saw you.
No!
Admit it. You're a killer.
The cops coming for you, man.
You killed me, you know.
You're gonna pay for this. You're gonna pay for
You
this.
cannot run.
You're gonna see me, you
No.
know.
You cannot
No.
run.
You know that you're guilty.
No!
You killed someone.
No!
Every day, all day, you know.
No!
Hey, run away.
Good evening, sir.
Yes,
We have received complaints about this house, that there's a noise complaint. Is there anything wrong?
No, I don't think that anything is wrong. Everything is fine here.
I see. So can we investigate the area, check out?
Sure. Evening, officer. Sorry, evening, officer. Officer.
Yes.
Evening.
Yes, good evening. Alright.
So is everything fine?
So far, so good. Because, you know, we don't want any disturbances that's going on in the
I
household.
understand.
So,
Can you? What is your partner doing? Taking pictures or what?
yeah, he's taking evidence. So don't worry, this is just protocol for us.
Yes.
Because we're trying to record and what's going on. And report back to the one who made the report, and then head back to the our HQ. So, I'm not seeing anything wrong here. I hope you have a good night, sir. And if there's anything, you can contact us. You know our phone number, right?
Yes,
Alright,
that's
that's great. That's great. Is there anyone other? Are you alone in this house?
Yeah, I'm alone.
Alright. That's good then. Can we take your contact details?
Sure.
Alright. Hey, partner, take his contact details.
Do you know what happened to the owner?
No, I don't know anything about him.
And do you have anything to say?
No.
I smell something funny here.
Have you smelled yourself? But yes, I'm the one who killed the owner.
Alright, sir, you have found guilty. If what you say is true, then I'm going to take you to the station. Move, sir. Move.
So, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum and a very good day to say. So, I will be talking about one of or two of the theme that is in relation to the character. And the first one is confinement. So, throughout the story, both the main characters are only in the house. So, the confinement that we know about is more to the mental aspect rather than physical aspect of the narrative. We also know that from the story, the narrator and the old man might have a master and slave relationship, and that the narrator feels like the old man is holding him free of his freedom. So the narrator actually wants to kill the old man in order to gain his freedom, and he actually succeeds in killing the old man. However, he didn't feel free at all even after killing the old man. The evidence is that he confines himself inside the old man's room after roaming around the house. He then confesses to the policeman that he had killed the old man. So, in relation to the US context, there has been quite a lot of research done in relation to the prisoners there. So, an article by The Guardian in 2022 stated that in violation of the United Nations minimal criteria, which view extended solitary confinement as a form of torture, about 50,000 men and women are being imprisoned in US jail. And according to a recent study led by the Yale Law School, between 41,000 and 48,000 convicts were placed in restricted housing, the official name that has been given for solitary confinement during summer of 2021, and they were kept segregated for an average of 22 hours per day for at least 15 days in parking slot size cells. So, of course, more than 6,000 have spent more than a year in solitary confinement. And we also know that studies have shown that even short period of solitary can bring on severe mental health problems, including depression, aggression, and suicidal thought. So, in another article by the New York Times in 2022, it is said that some of the Supreme Court members have been fiercely critical of solitary confinement. It drives men mad, said Justice Anthony M. McCady in 2015 at the Harvard Law School. So he elaborated that in 2015, he said that years on end of near total isolation exact a terrible price. He also wrote that common side effects of solitary confinement include anxiety, panic, withdrawal, hallucination, self-mutilation, and suicidal thoughts and behavior. So, based on this data, it can be said that confinement might lead to a mental health issue, and same as what the narrator of the story is going through or have been gone through or go through during his time with the old man. So next, I will be talking about the time. So throughout the story, we can find numerous references to time, such as through the use of clock and watches, as well as the sound of heart beating, which can also be used to tell time. So for example, and I quote from the story itself, "Upon the 8th night, I was more than usually cautious in opening the door. A watch minute hand moved more quickly than did mine." So we can also say that the preciousness of the time that is also shown in the story is related to the mental state of the narrator himself. So most of the time, the action of the narrator is depicted or followed by a very exact explanation of the time. So relating it to the US content, but we will go on a slightly different context. Time, still time, but not the usage of time. We will go on with the time of when the story was written and what caused the number of serial killer to go down significantly years by years. So, according to an article by the Rolling Stone in 2021, it says that more than 80% of known American serial killers operated between 1970 and 1999. So, it's an era that was coined as the golden age of serial murder by Harold Sketcher, who was actually a crime historian. So, the reason behind this manifold, so it encompasses everything from sociological changes to biology to technology and also to linguistics. So through his research, Vronsky has come to the conclusion that serial killers typically start killing in their late 20s, but they practically fully create their personality and the compulsion befitting a killer by the time that they are 14. So as a result, he looked back at the world as murderer Jeffrey Dahmer and serial killer Ted Bundy were growing up and found a connection. So what was the connection? The connection was that they were all born at a time of squander. So in case, like for example, the BTK killer Dennis Rader and Richard Cottingham, the torso killer, their father were returning war veteran with PTSD, which actually was not a diagnosable illness until the 80s. So, in other words, these already aggressive children grew up in maybe violent and probably unstable families. So, in the story, we didn't know, or the author of the story, he didn't give us the backstory of the narrator. So we didn't actually know what he had gone through or what is his actual relationship with the old man. And we can say that he might have done this because of this, or he might have done that because of that. And that is up for us on how to research for it, or how for us to actually decide it.
Hi, Assalamualaikum, sir.
I am Aiman.
And I will continue the discussion.
Throughout the story, the readers can imagine and be aware how careful and meticulous the narrator was. He was able to plan everything in a perfect way, such as he sneaked into the old man's room without him noticing his presence for almost a week. He also able to kill and clear all the evidence from the corpse, which we know evidence of killing someone is not easy to hide, since there will be blood everywhere. However, the narrator managed to do that, even though he was so meticulous and careful at planning and executing the killing. He portrayed himself in the story as mad and not guilty. How can a mad person be so meticulous? According to Malaysia 2017, a killer moves from an imagination and planning before he decides to do the killing, and eventually clearing evidence. After that, he sooner or later will develop an impulse or urge to kill another person after the satisfaction he gained from the killing of the first victim, which explain how serial killers are born. Luckily, the narrator was caught after his first kill. If the story continues, or the writer decides to create a longer version of the story might become a biography of a serial killer. In relating the narrator, who is very meticulous in the story, the world provided a list of killers and serial killers who are so meticulous at their crimes, which led them free from a prison for years. Ted Bundy, Jeffrey Dahmer, and John Wayne Gacy. These three serial killers are so powerful at their crime that they had numbers of victims killed by them. However, there was another killer who became the FBI's worst nightmares due to his meticulousness in killing, which made it hard for the authorities to find evidence of the killings. His name is Israel Keyes, who killed and disposed of the victim's body meticulously so that he left no sign of DNA behind. Next, we move to guilt. He was driven by his messed up mind, which ended up killing a person who did not harm him in any way. His only reason for killing the old man was because he felt that the old man was always watching him with the vulture eyes. In the wild, a vulture is a deadly animal who will be watching its prey from afar before killing it. This would drive the killing of the old man because the narrator felt he was the prey to the old man and he wanted to make the old man vanish, hence killing him is the only way. After killing the old man, the narrator convinced himself that he killed the old man for a good reason, and he was not wrong for killing him. He is finally free from the evil eye that has been watching him. However, he could not convince himself any longer because of the overwhelming guilt. He started to hear the heartbeat of the old man underneath the floor. When the policeman came, he became anxious and overwhelmed with guilt because he knew the old man would never harm him in any way. He confessed that he killed the old man. Feeling guilt is an action of showing remorse, and it explained that the offender could step into rehabilitation to change himself to be better. The feeling of guilt also relates with the feeling of regret of the crime he had committed. According to research by Tagni et al. 2012, the feeling of guilt and shame are the result of the offender's own consideration towards the crime he had committed and the consequences. The narrator's guilt getting bigger when the policeman came because he knows he had killed the old man and he was thinking the consequences of his action. In US, a killer confessed to his crime of killing after 15 years because he can no longer hide and control the overwhelming guilt within himself. Mossberg 2023.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum and very good day. My name is Muhammad Ifasam Mazan and I will be continuing with mental illness. Alright, mental illnesses has gained more awareness since the advancement of technology, especially with social media. It can happen to almost anyone. It does not discriminate between colors, ethnics, or gender. Some of the more well-known mental illnesses are paranoia and schizophrenia, and also depression. But in this short story, we'll be focusing on paranoia and schizophrenia only. So, what is paranoia? Paranoia is a pattern of thinking that involves intense, irrational distrust and suspicion, which can affect a person's state. Next, schizophrenia is when a person lost touch of reality. Those with schizophrenia can experience delusions which could lead them to think everything has a secret meaning. And the most important subtype, which is related to this short story, is paranoid schizophrenia, which is when they are paranoid, they also have delusions and negative thinkings towards the real world. Right? So there are a number of cases that involve schizophrenia when it comes to serial killings. Okay, in 2004, David Gonzalez killed 4 people and claimed that he was inspired by Nightmare in Elm Street, the movie or the story. I'm not sure, but yeah. Next, Richard Chase, the vampire of Sacramento, killed 6 people in California and drank their blood. Apparently, he thought he was a vampire. And lastly, David Bikowitz, aka the son of Sam, is responsible of the killing of 6 people due to his belief of his neighbor's dog instructions towards him. Basically, what he did was he thought that the dog talked to him, and then he killed all the 6 people. These serial killers have their fair share of schizophrenia, as well as the narrator or killer in the Telltale Heart. Right? In the Telltale Heart, if you've read the story, it said that he saw the old man's eyes to be something that is very frightening to him, and that it intimidates him, which made him want to kill the old man. And also, after he killed the old man, he could listen to the old man's heartbeat, which shows signs of delusion and also one of the symptoms of schizophrenia. So my critique towards this story is that for it to be in the 19th century period, it is way above or way ahead of its time, because it focuses more on mental health, whereas mental health awareness is not evident until later in the 20th century. As for the writer, it proves that one's creativeness might not be relevant in their own time, but will be relevant as more insight and research are done in the future. Also, the emphasis of the delusions and mental problems opens a path for other writers to take inspiration to write this kind of stories. Right? So that is from everything from me, Muhammad Ifasam Mazan. Thank you for listening. To the next presenter. Thank you.
Good day everyone, my name is Rokian Blessant Pajas, and today I will be presenting the relationship part of the analysis of Edgar Allan Poe's The Telltale Heart. So, there are diverse opinions about the relationship between the narrator and the old man. They both live in the same house, and the narrator loves the old man until he murders him. The old man never harms the narrator. Some critics give the opinion that there is a master-slave relationship between the two. The old man serves as the master and the narrator is a slave to him. As the old man's evil eye is the object of hatred for the narrator, this relationship makes sense. The quote-unquote evil eye represents the dominance of the old man, which the narrator never accepts, so he tries to kill him to gain freedom. This could probably mean that they have a master-servant relationship. This idea could correlate with the same outcome as the master-slave relationship previously mentioned. Some would argue that they have a father-son relationship. However, this is too weak to apply, which led us to believe that this is some sort of master-slave or servant relationship between the two. A similar case of the servant killed their master happened in 1855. A 19-year-old servant woman named Celia from Missouri was executed because she killed her master out of self-defense, as her master was raping her for the past 5 years. Robert Newsom bought Celia when she was 15 years old to make her as his concubine. She was locked away in a brick confinement where she was not only raped by her master but by George, who was a fellow slave as well. For 5 years, this had been going on until the final part where she did not want to partake in such hideous crime and tried to stop Newsom. At that point, she took hold of a stick beside her and hit him on the head, and she tried to cover the crime. However, her daughters were worried and concerned. They started a manhunt to find their father. And Celia, who was shocked and stressed, confessed the so-called crime that she committed. She was then tried at a all-white court, which she was sentenced to execution through hanging. Although in her heart the killer had some sort of mental problem and Celia was a victim of rape, both killed their masters because they were defending themselves, and were arguably for the persona. That is all. Thank you.